Back-to-school jitters are in full swing as New York City schools students prepare to enter the classrooms next week. But for some, the jitters are masking other anxious feelings about hiding a part of who you are.
So how can we continue to be ourselves, right, without the fear of rejection or judgment? Best-selling author and TEDx speaker Ruth Rathblott has firsthand knowledge of this after she hid her disability for 25 years. Now she's on a mission to help everybody unhide themselves, show up to school as their true and best selves. In her new book, Unhide and Seek, just hit store shelves today. So welcome to New York Living. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to spread the message about unhiding.
Yes, and congratulations on the release of the new book.
Yeah.
So tell us your story, I guess, of hiding and how you eventually unhid your difference.
Sure. So for me, it was early in my life. I kind of had gotten to the point of going to a new high school, and like many of us, we start a new school and you get worried, especially as a teenager, about am I going to fit in? Are people going to like me? Will I make friends? And I got on a yellow school bus to get to school, and someone stared just a little bit too long at my hand. And immediately my impulsive reaction was just to tuck it into my pocket and think, I'm just gonna keep it there before I get to school. And while I get to school,
How old were you?
I was 13.
Okay.
And I was starting in this new high school. And I got to school and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna keep it in there a little bit longer just to make friends, just so I'll fit in. And that hiding of my hand went on not only just that first week, that first year, but it followed me for 25 years.
Wow.
And I went off to college thinking, oh, I'm gonna show up as someone new. I'm gonna, for the first time, not be hiding. And I couldn't stop hiding because I think sometimes when we have that idea in our head that something's different about us, we almost magnify it.
Yeah.
So when did you stop?
So I stopped 25 years later, and I stopped because I met someone who taught me how to unhide. You know how they often say that in order to find love, you have to love yourself first?
Yeah.
I actually disagree with that. I think sometimes we have to let someone in to show us how to love ourselves.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of my journey of starting to unhide.
Yeah.
And then finding a community of people that also had limb differences was super helpful. I found a group called the Lucky Finn Project it's about people with limb differences, and I found people with those shared experiences, with the idea of I wasn't alone. Because I think often when we're hiding, we think we're the only ones that are hiding.
Yeah.
And we don't realize that most of us are hiding something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of kids may be heading to middle school, a new school, high school, college, and they're going into these environments where there are a lot of differences, and maybe they have something, whether it's physical or otherwise, that they want to hide. You say start out by facing small truths. What does that mean exactly?
Absolutely. So start small. I think sometimes when we get into a new situation, we almost want to show our full selves and try to be different and try to think about, this time I'm going to change things. When I get to a new school, I'm going to be not the person I was in the last school. Even in a new job, sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to show up as this new person. Start small. Start with yourself first. I really think about it as unhiding sets the foundation for trust. So if you can start small and think about what it is that you're hiding, how is it holding you back from yourself, connecting with yourself? How is it holding you back from thriving? How is it holding you back from really being with people?
How did you feel throughout the process of high school, then college, right? When you were meeting people you really connected with, friends and a relationship, did you feel like you could then say, okay, here's what's going on?
No. And it's because I had in my head this idea that it was so bad. It was because I built an image and almost a reality that my hand was so awful that I didn't want to show anyone. And even if, as I got to know them, it became almost more and more hidden in my pocket. And I was always forecasting the next steps of how to not get discovered. So even with those friends or coworkers or people that I was meeting and I was connecting with, I wasn't really truly connecting because I was hiding.
Yeah, and advice that you would give students then, I guess, for those who might be inquisitive, right? Did anybody ever say to you, why is your hand always in your pocket?
Yes, and I had a lot of excuses for, oh, it's cold, or, oh, I just feel like it. You come up with you find ways to just come up with things. And most of us do that. So for me, I share the story about my hand and hiding it because I found that most of us are hiding something. It could be our family backgrounds, our education, our religion, our mental health. Like, we hide things because we're afraid of the rejection and judgment. And it's exhausting and it's lonely. And it takes a toll on our mental and our physical health.
Now I'm sure you feel liberated.
It's complete liberation and freedom. You get back joy. You get back taking the risks to do things that you wouldn't have done before. So yeah, it's complete liberation and freedom. But it takes time. It's not overnight.
Of course, of course.
What would you say to students who actually want to, on the flip side, who may not be trying to unhide something, but they want to create a supportive space for others, right? What's your advice to those students?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It's the idea of asking with curiosity and kindness. So thinking about being curious, but thinking about it with kindness. So asking a question out of kindness, not because it's almost like looking at a traffic accident and knowing why it has to happen, but asking because you really want to actually get to know them. And then be willing to share part of yourself with someone also, because I think sometimes when people are hiding, again, they think they're the only ones. If you can share as a friend something about yourself where you have felt different or you felt like you had to hide part of yourself, that's how we do it. And then allowing for a pause, allowing for that space to say, I have questions. I want to understand this. How can I be supportive?
Well, you are so inspirational, and I'm sure a lot of people have looked to you and said thank you. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe they're watching right now and are struggling with coming out with whatever they're trying to hide, how can they reach out to you?
Sure. The best places to find me are on social media. On Instagram, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and then I have a website, ruthrathblott.com, and where I give lots of resources about how to unhide. The new book, Unhide and Seek, definitely shares how to unhide in your personal life and also how to unhide in your professional life, because we have a lot of kids or students that are now getting their first jobs. How do you share that with a manager and getting support? And I would say just start with yourself. And I have a 4-step framework that I share in there also about how do you start with yourself, and then how do you invite one person in? Because that's really all it takes.
Ruth, great stuff. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for sharing your story too. You can get a copy of Ruth's book, Unhide and Seek, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So there you go.